Yo, guys, Justin James with the 10-7 here, and we have an incredible episode today about Isaac Dulgarian. If you guys know, if you guys are on social media, he has been accused of fixing a fight. And with me today, we have professional sports bettor and professional poker player Aaron Dollyman O'Rourke. Aaron, there's a lot of accusations going on right now. Before we jump into it, I want to give the fans a little a view of Isaac Dulgarian, because until this debacle, I've never heard of this guy. But he's accused right now. A lot of fighters are saying that he fixed this fight. There was some money coming into the fight right before the fight happened, I guess, looking for a first round finish. We're going to get into all this. First, let's go to his Tapology and check him out. Isaac Dulgarian, the Midwest Choppa, comes into the right now. He's 7-2. He's coming into this matchup as 7 wins with 1 loss. 29 years of age, out of Factory X. He's a wrestler out of Kansas. 4 wins by KO, 3 wins by submission, 1 loss by submission in the UFC. 2-2 currently in the UFC. Coming into this fight, he's 2-1. So he makes his UFC debut in 2023. He wins, loses a close split decision, wins by submission, and then he loses in the first round on this coming up fight. Now, I consulted Aaron. He has been a professional sports bettor for a really long time, and I want to show you the end of this fight before I hand the mic over to Aaron and let him talk of why people think this fight was staged. All right, he opened into this fight like a minus 270 favorite right before the fight happened. He ended up closing at about 140, minus 140, which a lot of people are saying that's a huge swing. But I have Dollyman to here say it really wasn't that big of a deal. But let's take a look at the end of this fight.
So Garen trying to flatten him out, rely on his athleticism. Oh, he's flattened out. Delvaye hammering away,
but he keeps moving. Oh, that
one got through. Bulgarian's got to turn into it and give up the mount.
Oh, he's going to get choked here.
Oh, that arm is close to underneath the
That's
chin.
it. It's going to be done.
Bulgarian doesn't want to tap.
Oh, he's going to have to here in a second.
You can hear the breathing.
Oh, Delvaye all over.
It's going to be over. This is done.
It's over.
I'll tell you what.
Now we're not surviving.
Pure heart.
No, I mean, this thing, he just keeps adjusting this thing. Tap.
He's going to tap. He might have a tap.
There's the tap. Yadier Delvaye.
All right, guys. So when I first saw the corruption video, it interested me a lot. I'm looking at the technique portion of this. Gets slapped down to rear naked choke. It didn't look like to me he was defending with both hands, which is day one stuff. So immediately I called Aaron, told him the information I was told, talking about how the line went from minus 270 to minus 140 very quickly. A lot of money was put on for Isaac to be finished in the first round. If I can hand the mic over to Aaron right now, if he wants to go through the odds, you want to pull up the odds so you can kind of give us a breakdown of what you see coming into this on Vegas fight odds.
Okay, so as we look here on a couple different places, this I believe is FanDuel. Actually, let's go ahead and go up here because then we can see which places have information. We got FanDuel, BetMGM. It doesn't look like the odds changed all that much, but on FanDuel, coming in, it started at about 170. But this week, the line has been 265, 250, 250. But then around 330, I don't know exactly when the fight happened, around 330, line's about 240, but then it ends up dropping, cratering down to 146. We get the same thing. We look at, where is it here? We got here. Let's go to BetRivers. BetRivers, same kind of thing. It looks like they posted it on the first. Opened at about 245. Obviously, they're playing follow the leader. Still 225. All of a sudden, it just starts dropping down all the way to minus 118. Now, that is a pretty significant drop. But what a lot of other people, and that is usually going to take a good amount of money coming in, even on what is an earlier. Well, this isn't an earlier card. I assume that is on the main fight because it's one of the top 4 fights. Or one of the last 4 fights. So there might have been a decent amount on this, even though it's only a fight night or UFC Vegas 10, I guess it's whatever it is. But the thing that people are focusing, that a lot of people have been talking about is that, well, but a lot of money came in on him to be finished in the first round. And let's look at that. So if we look at here, fight starts round 2. That's kind of the same thing. The line dropped from 300 down to 260, all the way down to 225 on FanDuel. Okay, well, that's a decent drop, but the thing that you've got to think about is a lot of these are not large markets. And what that means is it's entirely possible that on this is FanDuel, it's entirely possible that this entire bet, that all of the bets that are put in on fight starts round 2 only equal like maybe $5,000 or $10,000 total, maybe even a lot less than that. Like that might be all of the money that is bet on that particular bet. So for that reason, if you place a $500 bet, which I believe is going to be about the biggest bet that you can usually place on props like this, you're going to swing the line pretty significantly. And if you get like 2 or 3 people that do it, maybe that line moves this much and all of a sudden it looks like, oh my God, there's a huge conspiracy going on. And it really doesn't take anywhere near as much money to move the line on props as it does on the normal, like on normal sides, on who's going to win, on how many rounds it's going to go. And the reason for that is all of these sports books are extremely squirrely when it comes to prop bets. They're all worried that they're going to get sniped by somebody who has better information or who knows something. So they will make line moves that don't make any sense just to try and protect themselves, because they figure, you know what, it's not a big market anyway. We don't have a bunch of money coming in here anyway. We don't really care if we get put up a crap line on that kind of thing. But let's look back here again. So fight starts round 2. So that line did drop, or that line did drop. The line did drop. Let's look at Valet wins in round 1. So the line closed at plus 500. It was plus 700, and then it dropped down. So that shows, yes, money was coming in on Val to win in round 1. Then let's look at fight ends in round 1. It was plus 200, dropped to 165. Ooh, evidence is building that a lot of people seem to know that this would end in round 1. So, right? So then let's look here. Val wins by TKO or KO in round 1. It was plus 1,200. It dropped down to 950. So a bunch of people knew that he was going to knock him out in the first round. Mind you, that's obviously not what happened. Val wins by submission in round 1. It was plus 17 or plus 1,700, dropped all the way down to 1,300. On FanDuel. Okay, well, so he did win by submission, so somebody knew that he was going to win by submission. So then let's look at Val wins by TKO or some of these other rounds here. Let's look at Val wins by TKO or KO in round 2. It's plus 2,000. Well, it was plus 2,500, it looks like. Dropped all the way to 2,000. Seems like somebody knew that he was going to win by TKO or KO in the second round, right? Oh, let's look at this one. Val by TKO or KO in round 3. He was plus 4,000, dropped to 3,500 right before the fight. I guess somebody knew that. So what you're seeing here is not that somebody knew that he was going to lose by submission in round 1, or somebody knew that, or he was fighting, or he was going to be dropping the fight. What you're seeing is across the board money coming in on Val in multiple ways. And what this points out to me does not show that there is corruption here in the sense of that this fight was fixed. What it shows me is a classic case of asymmetrical information. What that means is, so normally in NFL, what sportsbooks want is they want you as the betting consumer to have only symmetrical information, the information that is put out on injury lists, on injury reports, on scouting reports, things like that. That is considered symmetrical information. And then whatever you do with it is what you do with it. But then there's also asymmetrical information. And in things like the NFL and the NBA, you can't really have just random guys quite so easily just walk in on a practice and happen to notice that, Kevin Durant looks like he's limping a tiny little bit there, and that's not on the injury report. I think I'm gonna go place a bet on that. It can happen. It does happen, but they kind of keep a little tighter rein on that kind of thing. But almost any random dude can walk into Extreme Couture and watch the pro practice and see what's going on. And if they happen to see that, oh, hey, that guy's kind of he's kind of favoring his right side a little bit. Maybe he's got a rib injury. Maybe he's got this. that is a much easier way to get asymmetric information. And then also when you've got guys that are in there that are, good fighters that might actually be in there fighting with or practicing with them, they have even better information. Someone like Justin can have much better information on whether or not someone's going to have an injury or something else. So this seems like a classic case of somebody knew that Dulgarian was compromised. They waited until the last minute and then they pounced and they didn't just bet on, submission in the first round. Like I saw this one video. It was like, submission in the first round was plus 850 and it dropped to plus 450. This is obvious corruption. It's obviously rigged. And it's like, yeah, but every single bet was bet on it. So it's not like they just hammered this one bet because they knew exactly what was going to happen. They just hammered all of the bets that they could on Val because they figured, hey, this guy's compromised in some sort of way. So that is what my take is on this. This is not a situation where it's obvious corruption. He obviously threw the fight. And something else that I'd like to throw in here, even though UFC fighters are completely fucked when it comes to their pay, in all the other major sports leagues, players get anywhere from 45 to 55% of the total revenues. In the UFC, fighters get 16 to 20%. I know that the UFC just lost like a $400 million lawsuit with regard to fighter pay and that kind of thing. And there would be a lot less concerns with this kind of thing, like there was with the coach a couple of years ago, Justin, where he was
James Krause,
where he had all kinds of information that he was disseminating to people. And that is corruption. But with the way that he was doing it. But in these instances, when you're only paying guys, like these guys are working their ass off and they're making, 12 and 12.
Before you get into that, I want to break that down. So sure. Go ahead, finish your thought and I'll jump into that now.
These guys are only making 12 and 12 or 15 and 15. And to think that this guy might just decide, hey, I'm going to throw this fight when he's 2-1 in the UFC. And if you go to 2-2 in the UFC and you're 2-2 in like low end stuff and you're not showing that you're a super exciting or dynamic fighter, Dana's probably going to cut you in a lot of cases. So if you know that you're getting 12 and 12 or 15 and 15 for this next fight, you have no idea what you're doing next. Like, I know if I'm going to throw a fight, I'm not throwing a fight for anything less than like $100,000 because you never know. You could go, if you win that next fight, you get your 12 and 12, then you get another fight. Maybe you get a new contract. All of a sudden you're getting 20 and 20. You have a lot more future revenue options. But if you throw this fight now, all right, well, you only got your 12K for that fight and maybe you're completely out and never coming back. Really quickly also with that, you might say, oh, okay, well, then you just put $100,000 on these things. That's the problem. It's not that easy to get that much money down on fights because once money starts coming in, they start adjusting the line because everyone thinks, the guy was a 2-1 underdog. Let's just bet $50,000 on him. Yeah, good luck getting $50,000 down. Casinos don't just take $50,000 bets on random fights like this. And some of these lines are, FanDuel, Bet Online. I know when I had a Bet Online account before they decided I was taking too much money from them, I could bet $5,000 on some of these fights and football and stuff like that. But that's it. But I bet $5,000 on the fight, that line is going to move a lot. So you're not going to get all of the money down at the big number. And if you start putting enough money down, they might actually freeze the line. It doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, they just keep moving the line and adjusting from there. So go ahead, Justin.
So yeah, this is the biggest point I want to make out. When I saw the original corruption video, I immediately called Aaron because I knew he'd have the insight to this and the idea. But the biggest thing is where he's at in his career. He's coming into this fight, 2 wins and 1 loss. He's probably making $15,000. Let's say it was a corrupt fight. And I'm just basically reiterating what Aaron says. And his max bet they can put on, he puts $5,000 on, saying that's a far-fetched bet. At what was
2-1? Let's say 2-1.
2-1, and he wins 10. We'll say he wins an extra 10,000. All right, that's not life-changing money. That's not going to affect it too much. What are you trying to move to? So that's not changing that much, and especially when your career's on the line. You're 2-1 in the UFC. You want a split decision. Like that's not. I don't think that is enough to warrant. Hey, I'm going to throw this fight and get an extra 10,000. Especially if you lose that fight, now you're cut. That was the biggest thing too. And you also were talking about a story about the Mike Tyson when somebody said, ironically, that, he placed $1 million bet that the fight was going to get finished in 90 seconds and it got finished in 89 seconds. after talking about that fight with you, and you'll be more specific about it, you can't make that specific of a prop bet, especially for that amount of money.
Yeah, so very specifically, anyone can search this. We actually should have pulled it up ourselves. Actually,
I'll do it right now.
Just search Deadspin fight fixing article. I read a really good article about 11 years ago that was talking about how fight fixing, Deadspin, not Dread, about how he was a fight fixer, and it seemed to read right, but there was something why I fix fights. Yeah, it seemed to say, scroll down to the part where it talks about Tyson and McNeeley. It's about 2/3 of the way down. So it seemed like the guy knew what he was talking about, but then at one point in time, he starts talking about how when Mike Tyson came back from getting out of prison, his first fight was against a guy named Peter McNeeley. He was, as I remember, 27-0, mostly just a club fighter. He had never fought anyone even in the top 10, but let's keep going down. He'd never fought anyone even in the top 10 before, and they were doing everything they can to hype the fight, but someone said that in this fight, so this is it. Keep going. Go down a tiny bit.
I gotta share the screen.
So he says in the article, and this is, we're gonna actually pull it up. Actually, let's read that. Go scroll down a tiny bit more.
Zoom up so.
Okay, so scroll down a little bit more.
I might clear out this. There we go.
Click that. All right, so in this fight, he talks about, and we're going to pull up the actual, that's not the paragraph. Keep going down. Nope, keep going down. Keep going down here. Keep going. There's a little, keep going. All right, so stop it right here. So this says, the night before Tyson McNeeley, someone in Las Vegas placed $1 million bet on the fight not going a full 90 seconds. When McNeeley, who was the manager, stepped between the ropes of forced and automatic disqualifications, 89 seconds had elapsed. So to most people, that seems like, wow, that's amazing. That just shows how much money you can make by doing these kinds of things. And then the guy, as you look down, you can read this, find this article. The guy kind of talks about how, oh, well, this was just an amazing setup that this guy did, and he was playing the long game and whatever else. And my immediate reaction to this, as someone who's been betting sports for a living for over 21 years, and I've lived in Las Vegas for the last 15, is other than the fact that it is very hard to get a $1 million bet down on anything in Las Vegas, especially in the 90s, I'm sure. That wasn't very common at all. To get and on top of that, back in the 90s, they didn't have anywhere near as many prop bets as they have now, and they almost certainly wouldn't have a prop bet on will the fight last less than 90 seconds. And the chances of any casino taking a $1 million bet on a fight lasting less than 90 seconds on a prop is effectively nothing. There is no chance in hell that any casino would ever take that bet. No bookie's going to take that bet. Nobody's going to do it. So unfortunately, in a lot of these cases, guys will talk a lot of shit and they're just telling a story. People will see that something, and that's the thing too, is you've got all these guys that are crowing about, oh, this is definitely corruption, and all this money was coming in, and all they're doing it for is clicks. Because realistically, all this is, it's almost certainly a case of asymmetric information, which is a problem, which whether or not the FBI wants to investigate that, maybe they do. That's for sure, because it is definitely a problem, because there is a ton of asymmetric information in MMA. But is this a case of straight up corruption where we knew that this guy was going to be finished in this first round? No, it's definitely not, because the line moved on every single prop bet in the direction of Delval. So this seems just classic case of asymmetric information, and that's all it is.
Guys, you heard it here first, man. And, we talk about how 5K is the max mount bet. Well, if you know people, you can get a little bit more. If you remember, I bet a little bit of 20,000 stack on my fight back in the day, but that was split between multiple people. It wasn't just I went to the casino and put 20 grand down. I had it split between 4 or 5 people in the time. But hey, guys, you heard it here first. Again, my first initial reaction was, hey, this might be a fix immediately. I called the man with a plan. Professional sports bettor for over 20 years. Guys, if you have any questions about this, you want to see more of Aaron's analysis going forward, we'd love to have him on the show more. He's a plethora of information when it comes to the betting line, and he's just a plethora of knowledge all when it comes to MMA. So we appreciate your time, Aaron. Thanks for coming on, and hope you guys enjoyed. And tell us what you think in the comments.
Thanks. And I appreciate you guys. And yeah, this is just a fight where
just a bad performance, really.
Dulgarian got beat down like the Lions got beat down by the Vikings
like
today.
that. Yes, he has to go that way. I mean, we're chopping it up to a bad performance, guys. Again, after listening to Aaron's analysis,
he's probably injured. Somebody knew.
Yeah, he probably was injured. Somebody knew, and that's what I'm breaking it down to, not because of Aaron's analysis. Guys, tell me what you think in the comments.